Hello, I'm Eric Smith, and welcome to another episode of the Low Budget Review Show. Today I'm talking about Star Trek Seekers number 1, Second Nature. It's by David Mack. Not David Mack, the comic book creator and artist. This is David Mack, the author. This is the first in a new series, obviously. It's got a big number 1 on there. It's published by Simon & Schuster. So, Star Trek Seekers takes place in the late 23rd century. More precisely, it's August 2269. And it's the golden age of exploration for the Federation. So the scout ship Sagittarius and the cruiser Endeavour are exploring the Taurus Reach. And the Sagittarius has picked up some strange energy readings from this planet, so they go to investigate. When they get to the planet, there's no sign of these energy readings, so they send an away team down to the surface. Of course, they have to deal with the Prime Directive, so they're not supposed to make contact with the natives and everything. And the natives are a rather primitive group, and they're dealing with something called the change that everybody in their tribe eventually goes through. And once the change starts, they have to go through the cleansing, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. So while all of this is going on, some Klingons show up, and of course the Federation has to deal with that, and the natives, and all sorts of stuff. Things go wrong, you know, your typical Star Trek-y kind of stuff. That's basically it. So, first of all, I said the late 23rd century, August 2269. And according to a little note at the beginning of the book, that's a couple months after the Star Trek, the original series episode, Turnabout Intruder, which I believe was in the 3rd season. So that should give you an idea, if you're familiar with your original season timeline, give you an idea when this is taking place. So it's still kind of early. It's during the Kirk and Spock era, and if you look at the artwork on the cover, it has that look. I love this sort of almost retro artwork look to the cover, and it looks like those older ships. I enjoyed this for what it is. 3 things popped into my head as I was reading it, and it'll give you an idea of some of the things that are going on in here. 1, I thought of Logan's Run. 2 was Children of the Corn. And 3 was Carrie. The reason those popped into my head, I mentioned the natives. They're called the Tamal. They go through something called the change. And when the change starts, their eyes get all fiery red. That immediately made me think of Logan's Run. Where the thing on the back of their hand, I think that's where it was, changes color, and that's when they know they're supposed to go and do the floating up into the sky, into the bug zapper thing. So the Tamal, their eyes get fiery red, they know the change is about to start, and they have to go through the cleansing, which essentially is throwing themselves into a fiery pit. This is all very early in the book. I'm not giving anything really away here. Now the reason, so that's Logan's Run. Children of the Corn, because most of the Tamal go through the change right around the time they turn 18. So this entire group of people, this tribe, they're basically all under 18 years old. So there's your little Children of the Corn thing. And then Carrie, because our main Tamal character excuse me, decides to buck tradition. She doesn't want to sacrifice herself. So she runs away and ends up going through and finishing the change, and it triggers a ton of superpowers. And there's a lot of telekinetic Carrie type mayhem going on. So there's a lot of that going on in here. And so our landing party, they're trying to figure out where this energy signature is coming from, and they approach the village. They see something going on. It's the cleansing ritual, and Nemur, the Tamal, our main Tamal character, breaks away, runs away. As she's trying to get away, Klingons show up. So they become involved, and they hook up with her, and the Federation folks are trying to track them without giving themselves away. All sorts of stuff going on. Now, there seems to be sort of a trope in Star Trek fiction, as far as I've noticed, and that's very, very often have a story where there's a landing party, and they're in trouble, and then up in space above the planet, the starship, whichever one it happens to be, ends up engaged with some sort of enemy. And that's going on here. You've got the Federation people and Klingons on the planet's surface, and then you've got the Sagittarius and some Klingon vessels orbiting the planet. So a battle on two fronts kind of thing. Excuse me. But so it's a well-written book. It's very entertaining. I aside from Nemur, I think is the only character I named because I've just met the characters in this book for the first time. I believe they are from a previous series, Star Trek Vanguard. This is sort of a follow-up to that, but I haven't read that, so I'm just meeting these characters for the first time. I don't want to mangle their names, so that's why I haven't actually mentioned any. But, you've got... It's a small crew on the Sagittarius, as it is just a scout ship. You've got your basic... your captain and your navigator and pilot and science officer and doctors and all that. And all sorts of different races. Of course, there's humans and Vulcans and then other races that I'm not really familiar with. I went to, I believe it's Alpha Memory and Beta Memory, I think. They're kind of like a Wikipedia for Star Trek. Alpha is canon Star Trek stuff, the shows and the movies, whereas Beta, I believe, is the expanded universe. So, the descriptions of the different alien races were adequate in here, but I like to get a better visual, so I went to Beta Memory and checked them all out. You can look up the different races and get pictures of them and such to see what they look like. So all sorts of different cool races on the ship. The Klingons, they do mention that since this is taking place during the original series, they do mention the smooth forehead Klingons, and there are some bumpy head Klingons, and there's a reason for that. I can't remember what it is. Real Star Trek fans probably know what it is. I believe it's been addressed on the show, one of the shows or one of the movies, something. But there's basically both kinds of Klingons. One's an offshoot branch or something. David Mack writes well enough. I guess he does a lot of media tie-in stuff. He was part of the one of the authors that worked on the Vanguard series, and I think I've read some of his stuff before. I couldn't tell you what it was. I know he does some original stuff as well. I checked out his website just to make sure it's not the artist guy getting into writing, and I believe he just signed a 3-book deal with a publisher for some original stuff. But his writing's fine. It's nothing spectacular, but nothing wrong with it either. Just sort of middle of the road. Just good, entertaining writing. If any of you watched I did a video, Star Wars versus Star Trek, the Battle of the Books. And I did say I like the Star Wars novels. Overall, I think they're better than the Star Trek novels. This didn't do anything to change my opinion. Just a good, entertaining, solid story. Nothing spectacular, except that great cover artwork. I really do love that. and definitely the first in a series that doesn't have a really serious cliffhanger. Nobody's life is in immediate danger, but the story does not end. Just to keep you aware of that. I do have the second book, which I haven't read since I just finished this one. I'm not sure when any others are coming out, but I'll pick them up. Um, and it won't be too long before I jump into the second one and see it. So, if you like Star Trek, if you like the era around the original series, like I do, that's my favorite period personally. I think you should pick this up. Give it a read. So I have my new rating system, and I give Star Trek Seekers #1, Second Nature, 3 out of 5 Federation starships. I like my artwork there. See, the 3 that are filled in are the good ones. These are the leftover 2. 3 out of 5. It's a serviceable story. That sounds relatively negative, maybe, but I don't mean it that way. I was entertained, and I like the Star Trek universe. I need to get to know the characters a little bit more, but they do have their own distinct personalities. It's just going to take me a while to get to know them. So that's basically it. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. The Klingons are very Klingon-y. The Tamal, not sure how I pronounce it. The alien race, the new alien race, it's pretty interesting. It does tie in with some other stuff from Star Trek, but you don't need to be familiar with it. They fill you in on everything you need to know. So that's about it. The comments will be open for spoilers. Just please be polite. Post a spoiler warning if you're going to say anything. I think I said a lot more than usual in this one. Some people might consider some of the things I told you spoilers, but you just got to take your chances. I have a link for where you can pick up the book in the description down below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, or pronunciations, please put them in the comments below. If anybody's read it, let me know what you think. If you want to know any more about it, or you want to yell at me for giving too much away, just put it in the comments below. I'm open to that. I'm always looking for a discussion. I think that about covers it. Please like, share, and subscribe. And that's it for this episode of the Low Budget Review Show. And until next time, read more books.